Welcome to an Aries and Pisces walk into a coffee shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited.
And then you think like, oh, as soon as it says one, start talking. But no, that's not the case. It still needs like another second.
Oh, the countdown's a lie.
Yeah, the countdown's a lie.
I mean, everything's made up when it comes to time, I've decided.
Everything is made up. I've really been working with that as like a general theme.
Yeah. Did I not text you about how I know time is fake because of something I learned this week?
Maybe.
You look a little blank.
If you did, refresh.
Okay, I might have said this to somebody else because brain fog. I just cannot.
I think that you said it to me, but also
okay.
I don't.
Anyway, this is how I know time is fake. Because this week I learned that Rasputin of Russia Rasputin's daughter Maria was alive and living in Los Angeles when my parents were teenagers. And that is made up. That sounds fake. Time isn't real.
You did not tell me that. I have no idea what's going on.
So you know about Rasputin, right?
No.
No? Okay. So I guess that says like no frame of reference. Do you know the story about Anastasia from Russia?
No, not off the top of my head.
So Russia went through this like bare bones. There's like a revolution in Russia, and the royal family's palace was like stormed, and the royal family was like fleeing persecution, and one of their daughters, Anastasia, like went missing during all of this. And it was like this long history of people saying they were the lost princess Anastasia, and it was like a bunch of fraud. And they actually made an animated movie out of it called Anastasia. But Rasputin's an actual figure who he's kind of seen as like a mystic, but he has strong cult leader vibes. And he got the ear of the royal family because their son was very sick. And now in hindsight, we know it was hemophilia, that blood disease where if you get a cut, your blood doesn't clot. So you can like get very, you can lose a lot of blood from something very minor, and it causes a bunch of other complications. Yes.
Who had that? Hand. Yes, who had?
The prince did.
Okay.
And so Rasputin comes and is like, I can cure your son. And he did a bunch of nonsense, but the kid did get better. They think it's because they were trying to treat his pain with aspirin, which is a blood thinner, but they didn't know that then. And Rasputin was all like, no drugs, we're doing it my way. And so he didn't really do anything other than accidentally made sure this kid wasn't getting aspirin, which did kind of help, but it didn't cure him. But basically there was a lot of lore around this guy about like his magical powers, and he was like saw visions, and he was very religious, but he also held orgies. So there's like a lot of talks about
wow,
again, big cult leader vibes. Okay. And like the Russian people were like, the relationship between the Tsarina, who's like their queen, and this like very enigmatic but crazy looking mystic man that like wandered out of the wilderness and into this royal family. It was like people were making sketchings and like tabloid level rumors all across like Russia. And this was like in the early 1900s. And so like I grew up knowing this story. I love that animated film when I was a kid. Rasputin's always been very fascinating to me because I'm very intrigued by cults in general, but like cult leaders, the way that they're able to charismatically draw people in and brainwash and manipulate is just it gives me the biggest heebie-jeebies. Like, it makes my skin crawl, and I'm obsessed. I cannot stop reading and, like, trying to wrap my head around what that's like, and especially because it's those people are able to target anyone from any walk of life. So it, like, feels really, like, crazy that there's something in our psychology that it could happen to any of us, and I'm obsessed. Anyway, so I've
I
grown
just
up with
got chills.
Rasputin. And, like, when you see pictures of Rasputin, you could feel, like, there's an energy coming off of him in photos. He's very piercing.
I will say that this name does sound familiar. Like the name, you're saying the name, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a name, but I don't know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I guess I grew up being very soaked in the story of that time period. And also I'm really interested in, like, revolutions and how things crumble like that. I think that's also really fascinating, like, how the power systems break down when they've, like, been going for so long. And Rasputin had a lot to do with, like, the breakdown of, like, the trust the people had in this royal family. But it's like that disparity. It's like every country has their own version of, like, the people are like, why do these folks just get to blah 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 blah? You know? And so I'm obsessed with it. And I was listening to a story about it, and they went into, I think I knew that Rasputin had children, but I never really thought about it because it's just not really part of the main story. But, like, he was, like, married with a family before he, like, wandered off to do his Mystic Man thing and then eventually come involved in the royal family. And so, yeah, and then I found, and like I said, like, when I think about it time-wise, it does make sense because I know that he ended up, he had died, like, in the, I want to say 19 teens. So, like, God, I can't, years are hard. Before the 1920s. So, like, it makes sense if he had children that they would then keep living. But it just, like, the idea that Rasputin, who I grew up with as this, like, kind of a mythological figure almost, even though he is a real human, but there's just so much lore and, like, weirdness surrounding him. And then to find out that his, like, grown daughter was just, like, living in LA. No, there's something about the LA part that's really weird to me too. Like, just living in LA while my parents were not only alive but teens. Like, it's just really weird to me. And I found out that she worked with a circus, and that also sounds made up.
Huh.
She was, like, doing pony shows and lion taming in LA.
Wow.
So weird.
It
Sorry,
is
that was a
so weird.
really long, strange, completely unrelated tangent.
That's okay. But sometimes I think about that it might be cool to work in the circus, to be in the circus.
What would you like to do?
Well, that, I haven't ever really like fleshed this out,
Mhm.
but I think that because I also like would not be cool with any kind of circus things that dealt with animals.
Yeah.
I that would be a no-go for me. I also haven't been to a circus since I'm not even sure that I've ever gone to a circus. I don't know. I think that it would be cool to do aerial shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't have to do that necessarily in a circus, but yeah, that's like us growing up, that was the only place aerial things were
Yeah.
done, really.
Yeah.
Um, the Ren Fair that's north of here, Bristol. I always mess up the name. I'm pretty sure it's just Bristol Ren Fair. It's in Wisconsin. Uh has an aerialist that they rig her from a tree, and she does silks up there.
Wow. Wow. That's mhm. Yeah, that's terrifying and probably a wonderful spectacle. I've never been to a Renaissance fair. Is that the right word? Renaissance?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're called medieval fairs too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Um,
never been to one.
but I think nowadays it's kind of interchangeable, even though there is a remarked difference, which Christy went into depth about when we went, because she knows all about medieval
Oh.
stuff. And I loved it. I was like, well, and especially now, like they started as one thing, but now they're kind of like pop culture wrapped into it as well. So there's theme weekends a lot of
Mm.
times. So they'll do like a pirate theme one weekend or cosplay. So you can like show up as your favorite characters from a bunch of different media. Um, Other popular themes are steampunk, which is obviously made up. I've seen the Celtic weekends, and those are fun. Where people come in kilts and then they do like traditional Highland games. Um, and like they'll have like pipers and stuff. And I think it's a really good time and I like going.
I want to. I want to go. I want to dress up. I want to go.
I used to
I'm
go to
ready.
the one in Pennsylvania, and then there was one, the Great Lakes one up
Mm.
north, when I lived in Ohio. And I went to one when I lived in Indiana, but it just didn't have the same feeling because the Pennsylvania one is in the woods. Like there's like a twisty turny path that goes down into the forest, and that's cool. And then the one in Indiana was just like held at like what used to be a cornfield, but now is just a big grassy lot.
Mm.
Just it's not the same like
Uh-huh.
feeling.
Yeah.
But the one up north, the Bristol one is incredible. It has like the best of both where it's sprawling and really big, but it also like has like meandering paths through the forest. It's very well established. They get a lot of good acts there, and people take it so seriously. The costumes are just amazing. I just like
Wow.
going to people watch.
Yeah.
The last time I was there, I met an older couple where the woman made all of the clothes and she hand sews in the time period of the clothing. So they were actual medieval representation of like what those people would wear. They were an actual wool of like what those people would have had access to. And then like her specialty is learning the different ways to make clothes from the time period. So she hand sewed them all.
That is intense.
Yeah. Hmm. And I thought that was just like, wow, just the love that you have to have
Yeah.
to not only learn about it, but then like do that
Mm-hmm.
is amazing to me. So I always like going. And then you get people that are just like, in their Hot Topic bought corset, but they're having such a nice time. It's just like, what a fun mix of humans.
Oh, I love that. That made me think of have you watched the most recent series of or season, what the fuck are words, of What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I'm behind.
Oh, okay. I won't let me see how I can say this. Anyway, the one character wanted to get some vampire clothes and just went to Hot Topic and like just bought
Oh,
some things at Hot Topic.
sweet, precious
Like a new
baby.
vampire.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah.
That
And
was
I
like,
just yeah.
that makes me so happy. I love that. Aw. I have to
uh,
watch that. That would be a good feel time watch. I've just been binging horror films because I got a free trial for Shudder while I've been under the weather, and so I've just been nonstop watching horror films.
that that sounds terrifying. That
I mean, some
sounds
of them were good, and other ones they were like taking themselves seriously, and that was funny to me because it's hard. Making horror
Mhm.
films is hard, and so sometimes you're just like, what? And then it ends up being funny as opposed to frightening. And then I did watch one that was like a parody of it's called Let the Wrong One In, which is a play on a well-known vampire film called Let the Right One In.
Mhm.
Um I think there's two of them. There's the original, which I forget what country of origin it is right now because brain fog. And then they remade it in an English version. And now this version, it's like it had a bunch of practical effects, which is fun because you don't see that as much anymore. Um, but it kind of gave me a similar feeling as to the What We Do in the Shadows, the original film,
Mhm.
like that kind of over the top,
Okay.
leaning into tropes. They know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and everyone's like taking it so seriously, but saying the stupidest things. And Anthony Head is in it, which is an actor that was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And
Mm.
this is like a parody of a vampire film. So it was like also kind of meta because he's like
Okay.
famous as Giles, like the
Mm.
watcher of these
Okay.
group of teens that are like fighting vampires, and he's like this mentor figure. And then in this film, he's like this like rogue vampire hunter guy. And it was just like it was slapstick. It was so dumb. And I really enjoyed it. So I've been watching a lot of horror, but I also delved into some of the funny side of it.
Mm. Mm. I like that. I really love What We Do in the Shadows. That
Me too.
we were just talking about it the other night because I was like asking, is that where we fell in love with Taika Waititi?
Mm.
And I think that it is.
I think for me as well, because
Um,
that was so forever ago.
yeah, it was
I
so
don't
long
remember what
ago.
year now, but it feels very early on.
Yeah, and I know that he directed on Flight of the Conchords, which was also
Mm.
something I was completely obsessed with in college.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, um, yeah, for my college graduation, Luke bought me the set, the like DVD set
Hmm.
as a gift.
That is so sweet.
So that was in like 2012. No, 2011. When did I graduate? The end of
I'm not sure.
2011.
Mine was 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
graduated in 2010. I don't know if that helps you at all.
I did
Um,
I know that I graduated in December and I know that I did grad school in 2012. So it had to
okay, so
be
that lines up.
11. Yeah. So, and I introduced him to Flight of the Concords, and I know that Taika directed some of it, and I think that
Mhm.
maybe he made like an appearance
Mm.
uh, in it, but I don't think it was a big. It wasn't
Like a
a big
cameo.
starring. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But I think it's just been so fantastic to watch him over the years, and also Reese Darby, who was in Flight of the Concords, and now they're in Our Flag Means Death,
Yeah.
and I'm just so obsessed, and it's fantastic.
I agree. I like that we delved into story time media hour because this is so rare for us.
I know.
We don't really do media. Well, not that we don't do media. We separately do media, but we don't really talk about it with each other as much.
Yeah, I also is it because I don't consume that much media,
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
true.
Probably.
Which I guess is why I'm surprised I didn't know about the Flight of the Concords thing, because I feel like since you do enjoy so few things that would have stuck for me.
Okay.
But I guess we never had a reason to talk about it, so I just didn't realize.
Oh my
Because
God,
like we talk
the
about
song.
Taika,
Yeah.
but
Oh God.
only in the
We
context of what he's
saw
up to now.
we saw them twice in concert, Brett and Jermaine. Like at so fucking
Right.
amazing. So
Oh.
amazing. One was at a comedy festival thing. I don't remember. God, it was so long ago. And then the other time it was just them.
Mm-hmm.
And oh gosh, they're so great. They're so great. I just remember, and I was introduced to them by, I believe it was one of my roommates in college who liked them, and she showed me and my other like best friend who we lived with some of the music videos. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're into it, and cello tape. Oh my God, all these songs. Oh God, Leggy Blonde. Okay, I was so obsessed with these music videos. I didn't realize it was a show. And then we realized that. And then I started watching the
Mhm.
show. And I think watching the show, you appreciate the music videos even more because you have the like
Mm,
the
mhm.
backstory behind them. Um, yes.
I love that that's how you got to the show. That makes me really happy. It's like this long breadcrumb road to the
Yeah.
source material.
Oh my gosh. And there's so much in there and in like what we do in the shadows and things that like Luke and I just quote all the time, or we just little
Mhm.
things that we just say all the time. And I think that that's so fantastic and weird how we pick up little things in our lives from things and then it just becomes a big part of your life that's not, you don't even think about it. It's just ingrained.
Right, because you've been quoting this thing for so long that it's
Yeah.
just part of the vernacular.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
are you familiar with Sugar Lumps, the song?
I
I'm sure
don't
if
think
you
so.
I'm
Maybe
sure
if
if
I
you
heard
heard
it.
it. I'm sure if you heard it. After this, I'm just going to be straight on YouTube watching and sending you a bunch of videos.
Okay,
But
thank you.
um God, we quote that song all the time. Like looks so good, that's why I keep them in the front. Like we just we say that for all sorts of things.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that makes me really, really happy. Oh, I like having a peek into your shared language.
It's so ridiculous and a lot of times mostly sexual.
Yes, I also love this about you.
I wonder, I don't, I'll ask you this, I'll ask you if
Mhm,
you wonder it too, but I often wonder if other people in other relationships
mhm.
talk like this all the time. And if a lot of what they say
Hmm.
is like absolutely ridiculous and mostly sexual.
I think that there probably are some, but I do not think it's the norm.
No?
I don't. No.
For real.
I really don't think it's the norm. And I say that because
Uh-huh.
I I have to go on my heteronormativity
Mm.
rant.
Okay, okay.
There's this so I mean, most of the couples I know, there are a lack of heteronormative things going on in them,
Hmm.
um, which is great. I love the circle I've curated, but I'm alive in the world. And it took me some time to find those types of
Uh-huh.
people. And so there's this weirdness of people who are in relationships, but they don't really seem to like each other that much. And like you'll hang out with them and it's like you're just waiting for something to spill over.
Oh.
And I don't hang out with those people anymore. But I don't know, it just feels like you have to really like somebody and also be funny, and not a lot of people are funny. I'm also finding out. Again, now that I'm an adult and
Huh.
curated my circle so carefully, that's
Mhm.
changed. But I'm like
Mhm.
thinking back to like most of where I've lived and the people I've been around, there's like a lot of, oh, you know what? It's not just heteronormativity, it's like overlaid with that like pure Puritan culture thing that
Mm,
the States
okay.
has, where, yeah, people just aren't that funny. They're not that playful. And I don't really think they like each other all that much. And I think you need all of those things to be hilarious with inside jokes that are hypersexual, almost to an aggressive level. Also, you're an Aries, and I think that helps, fan the flame.
Thank you. Thank you. I think one of the biggest compliments that you could ever give me is to tell me that I'm funny.
You are funny.
That is just like, please tell me that all the time. It makes me feel so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just calling it like I sees it.
Because, like, I don't think that I am that funny and I want to be funny. And, like,
You are.
I
And
think
also like super playful. Like it's
that's it.
one of the things that I admire the most, and I'm like constantly trying to learn from you, is just how to play more, which I know sounds funny to you because I know you're also working at that, but like you are so playful and I love it.
You know what just popped up in my head when I made the snow dick on the back deck out the door. I sent you pictures, and then we were just whenever we would see something in the snow that like resembled a dick.
So you're gonna do that again this winter?
I can, you know what? Last winter, I don't even think we had the snow for it. Like we never got
Mm,
that
mhm.
big crazy snow. I think we were waiting for it, and it never happened. I I would wish that it never happens to me again. However, if it does, yeah, I'll make you something.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely leaning more into play, especially as the season's changing. Because I've been thinking about the hermit a lot.
Mm.
And I think historically I thought of the hermit as solemn. And then it occurred to me recently that that doesn't have to be the case. And that was a fun
Oh, I
perspective
just got
shift.
chills.
Tell me.
Like just because you are alone, yet you know, like working towards something, cultivating something, learning something, whatever it might be that you're doing in that container, right? Yeah, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to be all like serious and the word melancholy is coming to me, but like,
Yep, no, that's
right,
a good
you
word
could put
for it.
like you could, yeah, you could be doing all of that very playfully.
Hmm. And I hadn't really considered that as a real thing because I'm naturally inclined towards melancholy and seriousness. And I've been feeling hermit energy big time, like for the last few weeks, and it's been popping up because apparently a lot of other people are also picking up on that as well. So I think yeah, I'm going into a hermit like energy. And yeah, just and I realized I was feeling really sad about it. And I was like, why is that though? Because the
Mm.
stories of Hermit sounds cozy because it's about
Hmm.
like turning inward and that like the stuff that am also inclined towards, like that exploration. And I know for a long time that I've been needing more stillness and space. And I keep on getting this like image of someone kind of crossing a moor, like this windswept, wide open space, like stars ahead, lantern in hand. And it feels really good to think of it that way. It feels refreshing. But then I was like noticing this like, yeah, sadness. And then it dawned on me, oh, you think this has to be solemn and serious and hard work. And I'm like, that's the opposite of what I need right now.
I
Anything
love
else
this.
hard?
Yeah, I am. Um, ooh, this is good. It made me think of that little meme. Why was I thinking about what my favorite meme would be? I think I read maybe a newsletter or something,
Hmm.
uh, some kind of interview or something, and I think that was one of the questions.
Mm.
And I was thinking, oh, what would mine be? And I have a few, and they're all cat related.
You sent me
And
one of them.
I sent you one of them. That is good. But I'll send you the other one that I've had forever as well, that I have had saved in my phone, I think, since before I knew what a meme was. And I'm
Oh,
like, is this
yeah.
a meme? Like, is that what that is? I don't know. But the one I'm thinking of now is a tiny black cat sitting on top of a stuffed unicorn.
Mhm.
and it says something 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 something, and the rider's name was Death, or I don't. And it's
Yeah.
adorable. It's like it's very cute. But I'm picturing that quite possibly, right, you going to your house in the woods with your lantern. However,
Uh-huh.
you're a little black cat riding a unicorn, because why not?
Yeah.
It could be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I thought, well, I think it's because I've been feeling lonely and hermit energy has some like lonesomeness to it. And I'm trying to reframe being alone as not lonely
Mm-hmm.
and also not absolute. Like,
Right.
there is no such thing as utter aloneness in my life. Like, I'm
Right.
so connected to so many people and communities and space. And I think that that has something to do with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the idea that um, I just need a rest. Yeah. Like, I think that I kept on thinking about that image as like someone traversing. And it occurred to me that what you said was perfect. Like your little house in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I could, there's going to be some walking, but also I get to like lay down about it
Mm-hmm.
next to a fire. Actually, there's a tarot deck that my friend introduced me to. I think I've talked about it on here and with you before, the Enchanted Forest. I think it's called the Enchanted Forest deck. It's very cozy. It has a lot of, and like the guidebook is like story driven.
Mm-hmm.
So, my friend, anytime she reads for me, usually uses that deck for me. And one of the cards, is the Hermit, and for their imagery, it's a little badger in his little underground den, but like
Uh,
a um oh, I forget the word for it. An animal that's dressed like a human and is acting like a human. You know the word
okay.
I'm talking about.
I have no idea that there's a word for that, but
Oh,
okay.
there's a word for that.
Okay.
But man, this brain fog is so intense. Starts with an A. Anyway, it's a badger in a waistcoat, I think, and he's like holding a cup of tea, sitting down in a cushy chair next to a fire in his little underground den. And he
Mm-hmm.
looks so pleased and plump. And I'm just like, oh, that kind of Herman energy feels so lovely, where it's just like, yeah, I'm going underground, but I'm like so cozy. And look at all my
Yeah.
like supportive, nourishing, like I think there's a stack of books on an end table or something in the card. It just looks like how I want to feel.
Mm. I like that. I've also been thinking, what are some ways that I can bring some cozy in,
Mm,
as I just do not feel cozy. I feel cold and uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I pulled this out uh, while you were talking. I wanted to read you a card. I also wanted to know if you would like a card,
Yes,
to pull
please.
a card. So maybe I will. Oh, okay. I just opened the book to this one page. It wasn't the one that I had in mind, but it is
Mm-hmm.
um the paragraph that I had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay, so I'm gonna read you this one. I'm gonna look for the other one, and I'm gonna pull you one. How about
Oh, I
that?
love a three.
Three. We're good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
My favorite number.
So this one is Comfrey, Grow Together. Comfrey is Grow Together, a card that appears in times of change for those close to us. A waxing moon need not lead us to wane. Wax together, bind and wind, pull your weight and climb. Comfrey is a card of both great challenge and romantic capacity.
Mm.
Mm.
That, can I tell you what came up for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
I very
please.
much needed that because I have been fighting the urge to do the thing I do, which is isolate when I'm feeling bad. And I've been actively reaching out and being vulnerable with new and old people alike. And I needed that one as like
Mhm.
a confirmation that, yeah, it's hard, but you're doing the right thing.
Mhm. Yeah, just wait till I read you this one. So this was
Okay,
so
we're doubling down. Cool. All right.
this is the card. I had a card in mind and I had a description in mind. And
Hmm.
this next one is the card that I had in mind, which is bindweed.
Mm.
Bindweed is connect, a time to bid reclusion adieu, invite loved ones back in, behold your entanglements, and build cobwebs of synergy. You have never been alone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, it got me right behind my eye. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I've been struggling with that, obviously.
isn't that wild? I think the way that I'm connected with this deck is pretty crazy to experience
Yeah.
on
Comfort
my
you've read
end.
to me before. Bindweed is new to me. I really like that card, and it's really supportive. I feel like this is the big lesson of my life is that I've never been alone because I've often felt very
Mm,
lonely.
hmm
It's a weird thing to consider.
hmm It is. Okay, I'm gonna pull you a card here.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be a card for us.
Mm.
Okay, I'm pulling. I'm pulling another one with this.
Okay.
I, this card. This card trips me up. So
Oh.
I'm interested to see
Hmm.
how what comes up for you.
Okay.
Okay, so it's Celandine.
Hmm.
Escape, a sign that something is wrong and you must go. Be it a caustic spirit or virulent
Mm-hmm.
scene, something looms for which there is no cure save for eluding circumstances. Bring only your most vital magic with you.
That middle part, where it says alluding, what's that sentence again?
Be it a caustic spirit or virulent scene, something looms for which there is no cure save for eluding circumstances.
Save for eluding circumstances.
So
Okay.
there's no cure but going, but peacing out. I like the bit that's like bring only your most vital magic with you. And I did pull another card because with this one I tend to pull another card to be like, okay, what is this like leaning towards?
Mm-hmm. I had something
And
pop up immediately for me. I'm curious what this card has to say.
okay, it's elderflower, which is transfer grief.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you want to read
Yeah.
it? And then we
Yeah.
can discuss.
I mean, I know you know this one because I said it to you.
Yep, I know this one
But
too.
a reminder to diffuse your sorrow with those who share it and infuse your woes where beauty springs. In the darkest turmoil, plant such sullen seeds. The sun will always come. Tears may be enough. In time, blooms and you will resume.
Mm-hmm. So with the first card, not the first card, but the card
Yeah.
before that, I forget which.
Celandine, escape.
Celandine, escape. What popped up for me immediately is a message I've been getting repeatedly through a bunch of different avenues, which is the letting go of the past and the letting go of
Mm.
old identities and the letting go of old ways to cope.
I I think that okay, so now hearing you say all of that, I had pulled this for myself not that long ago, and I had that same
Mm,
feeling, especially the end where it's like bring your most vital magic with you. that led me to like thinking of just everything that I have carried with me through my whole
Mm,
life until this point, like everything that has gotten me through all of that.
mhm,
And right, I don't need to carry all of that heavy, the beliefs, the ways that I've been operating out of. I don't need to do that anymore. And I've got the things that are now the things that work, the things that
mhm.
and yeah.
Yes, this is just another confirmation of, and it actually came at a great time because it was something fresh in my mind. That tarot reader that I really like on YouTube, Adia, the
Hmm.
ASMR channel,
Yeah.
last the last one that she did, um, and I think it was for October. Might have been September or October. She did one where it was like, oh, it was Libra season vibes. She calls them timeless tarot readings. Like you can click on them whenever, but when she does them in an astrological season, sometimes she'll tie it to like that, what's going on. But it's like a pick three type of scenario. And the one that I chose had a card from a deck that I can't recall the name of right now, but it's an image of a bird cage with a door that's wide open and a bird that's still in the cage. And it has that same message of you're choosing to sit in this
Mm-hmm.
cage. The door is open, you just have to step out.
Hmm.
Very devil card energy where it's like you are free to go, you just have to
Hmm.
choose that and then keep acting towards it. And and I thought about it a lot and I wrote it down because I'm like, yes, this, especially like what she was talking about with the other cards surrounding it, felt very true to what I was doing with this idea of like trying to let go of things and move forward without carrying the heaviness or the old ways of doing things. And then she just released another reading um, where it wasn't tied to an astrological theme. Um, can't remember what it was titled. I can look it up though. And that card came up again in the same
Mm-hmm.
reading that I chose out of the pick three. And I was just, and I've been thinking about that a lot of, especially having so much alone time lately. It just keeps on popping up of, oh, this way of thinking isn't serving me. Oh, this like is an easy pit to wallow in because it's practiced. And like, I can't do that anymore. So soon as you started reading, yeah, it's just been fresh in my mind of like, I've been getting this, you need to escape, let go of, walk away from, shed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the elderflower kind of ties all of those cards together, right? Because it talks about not doing it all on your own and this idea of planting seeds for
Mm-hmm.
later blooms.
Mm-hmm.
You're so good at this deck.
Thank you. I love it so much. I've it's wild to me. It feels like wild to my brain to think that I have this relationship with this deck. I think
Hmm.
in probably blowing my mind because of watching people do tarot and other kinds of readings and things like that and just being like, I don't know how these people are doing that. That is amazing. And
Mm,
then I sit here talking with you, or I just like text you and I'm like, hey, this, and it's the thing. And I've
hmm.
just, I think, built this relationship with it where I know so many of the cards,
Yeah.
and it'll be even, I'm not necessarily pulling a card, but the message pops into my head. And then I have to like look it up and read it. And I'm like, oh my God, I needed that. Or you needed
Yeah.
that. Or, something, something else. Um, and that's wild to me. It's just it's blowing my mind, and especially because I had felt like I was ready for to introduce a new deck into my life.
Mm-hmm.
for a little while now and considering what that might be, or and I didn't feel like I found one. And she did
Sure.
release an expansion pack to this, and
Oh,
I considered getting that. However, my funds didn't
yeah.
allow for it, and it was a limited run. I'm not sure that she still has anymore, but I also throughout this whole period have been telling myself that just the magical way that this deck came to me, that'll happen again when it's meant to, and I'm not going to try to
Mhm.
push it. I'm not going to try to, especially when I was like, oh, that deck was limited edition. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I can only get it right now. And because I felt that anxiety and that pressure, I was like, that's not it.
Yeah, you didn't want to step into it with that kind of
Right.
heaviness.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we're just continuing to be over here in this deck. And I have been pulling some tarot again, which I took a long break from tarot, but I have been pulling some cards from the Ethereal Visions Illuminated
Mm.
deck. This is the one where I giggled to myself a little bit when you just mentioned the Devil card, because I think the Devil card in this deck is really sexy.
Well, I would love to see it if you get some time later. I
Yeah.
always love looking at tarot decks. So if you want to start sending me tarot cards, I'm very down. One of
Okay.
the things that I really like about Adia that I've been thinking of exploring myself is when she does readings, sometimes she pulls from like 3 or 4 different decks all
Hmm.
in the same reading.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Normally she uses one tarot, but then she'll have like oracle cards, or and she has this deck that's like moon phases. And I really, and I've seen other readers do something similar. Hers are always the most resonant to me. Um, but I've been thinking about it a lot about how different decks have different energies and like what it would be
Mm-hmm.
like to pay more attention to how those different things play together in one reading.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I like I like thinking about that. Um, I'm like going through this deck right now, looking for
Mhm.
the card and just seeing so many of these cards. I used to pull this deck every single day for a long
Mm.
time, but I just don't resonate with tarot as much.
Mhm.
Like I think that the way that the Pythia Botanica has spoken to me has
Yeah.
just made a lot more sense. I think I understand it, and I understand it in a way that I can relate it to my life, which I think is like the point.
Right.
And I don't necessarily get that when I pull tarot. And I don't know if it's also um, the imagery as well. Some of the imagery I just really don't
Sure.
get. And I know that, like, for example, I've shared this card with you, that this 10 of cups,
Right. Yeah, we
that
talked
I'm
about how
like,
that
yeah, this just doesn't do anything for me.
that's why I
Um,
sent you that other 10 of cups that I had just found in
yes,
my
yes,
chaos deck, the Alleyman's
yes,
tarot.
that was good.
Uh-huh.
That was a really good one. I'm waiting to find this one card which does do it for me. Okay, here you go. The devil. I just think the devil he's looking sexy.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the devil card from oh, yeah.
I
I'll have to find a meme for you too. Okay, so 2 things I need to do for you. There's a meme talking about, and excuse me, brain fog, and I'm not an art history buff, but there was a sculptor who made a picture or a statue of Lucifer, and the church
Yes.
fired him because it
Yes.
was too
Too sexy.
sexy, and they
Yes.
hired someone else who made it even sexier. It's one of my favorite things of all time. It makes me laugh so hard every time I see it, and I also agree. It's just, and it just, I love when the church just like when someone sticks it to the church in some way, it makes me so happy. So that one, and then I have this deck. The Fyodor Pavlov. Brain fog names. Um, his deck is very gender non-conforming, body inclusivity. It's very traditional. It's based on the very traditional imagery, but with those things in mind and pulled into the typical depictions. Oh, and that devil card, my goodness. It's real good. I'll have to send it to you. And I brought that deck on my burlesque retreat weekend,
Mhm.
and multiple people from that trip have bought this deck, and it makes me so happy. There's just a bunch of burlesquers out there with this deck that I love so much.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to see it. And when you were telling about that devil sculpture story,
Hmm.
I've seen that as well, and that's fantastic. And it made me think of Kunk on Earth when she's
Yeah.
at that statue, when she says his little stone ghoulies.
She is so funny.
I was literally just saying yesterday that I wish that there was more Kunk on Earth.
I should return to that. It's been a while. I need a good laugh. Her delivery is just so deadpan. It's so good.
It is. Oh my God, I'm gonna add her to my jester archetype board.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
you should. For sure.
that's a great idea.
You take such good care of you.
Thank, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So do you.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks. I'm
yeah,
trying.
yeah. We're all doing great. We're doing great.